Christine, first of all, I just wanted to thank you so much for taking time out of your very busy schedule to talk with me today. I'm very excited to do an employee spotlight with you based on your current work that you do for SSAI. My first question I wanted to ask you was, what drew you to SSAI, and how does the company's mission resonate with you personally?
Well, first, thank you for inviting me to this interview. The pleasure is all mine. And
Absolutely.
so the way I found SSAI was actually right after an internship. So the summer of 2017, right as I was graduating from graduate school, I got accepted to a summer internship through the One-Stop Shopping Initiative at NASA. So I ended up participating in a internship that included a 2-week programming boot camp at the University of Virginia. And then that translated over to 6 weeks of working in the GMAO with one of the GMAO scientists over the summer. So I was working with Anton Darmanov on some aerosol fall off parameters inside the GMAO's weather model. And then at the end of the internship, NASA hosted a big career fair over in Building 8 for all the interns. And when I went over there, I found out through some of the people that worked at GMAO that SSAI was one of the primary contractors for GMAO. So I found the table, talked to Jonathan Kelly, who was acting as a recruiter that day, wandered around, and then I waited until the very end of the career fair after everyone had left to go talk to him again so that I could have a little bit more of an extended conversation with him.
Hmm.
So I was telling him how I had experience in Python programming, weather forecasting, and he told me about an opportunity that was opening up in about a month that I was invited to apply for. And he asked me, so when are you graduating? And I was like, actually, I already just graduated, so I'm ready to start work immediately.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so actually it was very much being in the right place at the right time. And I was in contact with one of the hirers for SSAI throughout the process as they got the position ready and posted, and I went and applied. And yeah, one of the things they asked me to do before deciding on who they're going to hire for the position was to write a forecast for the Caribbean Ocean, and I was like, oh yeah, I got this. So I already saw a window into what kind of work they wanted me to do, and it was something I was like, it wasn't going to be only forecasting. I was going to be also doing some model work with other colleagues within the GMAO, and that sounded like a good sort of middle ground because coming out of graduate school, I wanted to do a bit of forecasting, but I also wanted to do a bit of research, and this scientific support seemed kind of like a good middle ground. So I appreciate that SSAI has positions that are flexible for scientists from all different kinds of backgrounds, and I really appreciate the way they're able to collaborate with the researchers in the GMAO and other directorates as well, just to make the mission go a lot more smoothly and help everybody get things done.
Wow, that's awesome, Christine, and that's great to hear about your experience, about how you first connected with an SSAI employee as well. And I loved hearing how you just waited until the very end to go and speak further with them. So that's just great. I can definitely tell that you are very enthusiastic and very interested in terms of opportunities at SSAI. So that's wonderful to hear. So I really
Yeah.
appreciate you diving
And
deeper into.
Jonathan was very enthusiastic too, and that was something I appreciate about the whole application process. Everyone I worked with was very enthusiastic to take me on board, which spoke to me of having a very good company to work for who appreciates his employees.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I can definitely say, Christine, as well as a communication specialist myself, the onboarding process was absolutely phenomenal. The people that I interacted with, including my manager and the executives, everybody was just so welcoming. So I definitely echo what you just said there. So I really appreciate you highlighting a little bit more about that. My next question I wanted to transition onto was you mentioned your work with the Global Modeling and Assimilation Office, also known as the GMAO. And I know that the GMAO has been instrumental in providing tailored weather forecasts for NASA campaigns. How do you see the impact of your contributions in advancing scientific missions and benefiting the broader scientific community?
So I want to put the spotlight for this onto the scientists who are actually doing the field campaigns. So these are folks that go out to areas of the world where we don't really have a whole bunch of data, like from stations or whatnot that we could pull from. So sometimes for specific applications or like understanding the weather in very specific regions of the world, it's necessary to have people go out in planes or ships with sensors and gather data from actually being there on location. And so what these scientists do is they leave home for anywhere from weeks to months at a time, often to really far-flung remote regions of the earth. And they're taking these planes, they're flying them up on very specific calibrated routes through the sky to, measure certain parameters and fields and whatnot. And they're operating not only the airplane, but also like a dozen different scientific sensors at once. So that's a whole lot to focus on. And the last thing they need is to also focus on what the weather is going to be that day as well. So what the GMAO does is they take a bit of that stress off by providing very customized, tailored forecast maps over the very specific region that they request from us. Very specific fields that they want to investigate. Like say they're really interested in like collecting information on like smoke aerosols. We can like make those customized forecast maps specifically looking at smoke aerosols and anything else they request. And even for some campaigns like Above, which we supported a few years ago, we were handwriting 3-day forecasts for them so that we could tell them exactly where we think the best places would be to not encounter clouds or smoke to interfere with their science flights. And then also recommending places where we thought they would not get like good data. So because these scientists are out in these locations for a very specific window of time, because of funding, they have to make sure they get as much information as they can from those like campaign periods. And so, being able to identify where the best places and the best times to be to take out their ships and their airplanes to gather that information is very valuable. And so we help them get the most out of the time that they have out in the field. So that's what we do for advancing the broader scientific community as far as field campaigns go.
That's just super cool, Christine. I really appreciate you highlighting that even further. And my final question I wanted to ask you was in relation to all of your work and experiences. Looking back, was there a specific teacher or mentor who inspired your passion for atmospheric science? And what advice would you give to the next generation who aspire to follow a similar path in weather modeling and science?
Mhm. So as far as teachers and mentors go, I knew that I wanted to study weather ever since I was a little kid. My mom told me that when I was in Sunday school, I used to go up and write the day's forecast like on the whiteboard, and it was just like weather, sunny, and that was pretty much all I wrote. But as for education, I don't think I had any teachers like in grade school that specifically like pushed me to do meteorology, but I'm gonna jump right over into college here. I had a professor in my sophomore year called Ross Lazier over at the University at Albany, and he taught a series of 2 classes that were basically a conceptual introduction into meteorology and also the dynamics of the atmosphere, so we can understand like how the atmosphere actually worked without all of the nasty math that you have to like get involved into that those calculations later on in the curriculum. But basically, it was a really fun class where we held like map discussions on Fridays where we talked about the forecast and what's coming up. We drew and studied surface plots, which for me, as somebody who's artistically inclined, I had a lot of fun doing that. We would just like nerd out over like current and past weather and like talk about all the fun stuff that you might find when you're like looking up like weather videos online or like watching storm chasers or whatever. And so me and also the rest of the atmospheric science majors all were required to take those 2 classes. And I like to say that if you went through these 2 classes of Ross's and came out not completely engrossed in meteorology and wanting to know more, then you're in the wrong field. Because he really knew how to make meteorology like really fun to learn about. And also like that wasn't the only time we got to saw him. He was always like perusing around the atmospheric science department, checking in on the undergrads, having conversations. coming into the study lounge when we were being way too loud and asking us to quiet down.
Oh, gee.
So yeah, he is very closely entwined with the whole undergrad class, and he was like really instrumental in getting us a lot of us very enthusiastic in what we were learning.
That's absolutely incredible, Christine. Well, I'm thrilled to hear that you had such a great professor in college. It sounds like who really inspired you and motivated you even further, because that definitely makes all the difference, right?
Right.
Because we definitely emphasize, at SSAI about the importance of mentoring, and we definitely give back to our communities, and we make a broad scientific impact. So, but definitely when you have someone who makes that impact, it usually lights a spark. So that's very great to hear, Christine, about a teacher or mentor who is able to inspire you to go down this route, which is incredible.
Yeah,
So,
well, one other thing I'll say about him is we had a roast at the end of our undergrad experience where we all like went to dinner with our professors and whatever, and like, shared a meal and also kind of rubbed each other like in playful ways. One thing he rubbed me about was saying that, well, I would like to get through more material in our classes, but Christine kept asking too many questions. And whenever I'm like really curious about something and want to know more, I am a person who asks a lot of questions. So, and he was always like willing to answer them too, or just tell us, we'll talk about that more in 311. So he was always very open to like, just feeding our curiosity and like encouraging us to, keep wondering about the atmosphere, which is really inspiring.
that's awesome. Well, there's nothing wrong with asking questions, right? That's great to hear
Yeah.
that you asked quite a few questions. So, do you know, like, in one of your classes, if you recall, like how many questions, like you might have asked, for one of the sessions? I know you said a lot. I don't know if you remember the number. Or...
Oh, I don't remember at all, but I just remember whenever he like mentioned a topic that really interested in me, like I would ask for like more about that, and he would like entertain our tangents. But then, sometimes, there was also like a rubric we had to follow in order to finish the class on time. So he would say, "We'll talk about that more in 311," which was like our junior level class. So all questions were eventually answered. It's just sometimes there's a little more math or whatnot involved, and we had to like space things out appropriately.
That's great. I mean, the fact that you were asking so many questions, that just shows like how interested and invested you were and how passionate you are. And you bring up a
Yeah.
great point too, Christine, that, if you felt miserable where you were in terms of the subject matter that you're studying, then maybe that's not the right career path for you. So, so that's definitely some great advice to share with our audience and also our SSAI employees as well. So, with that, Christine, like I said, I very much appreciate the time that you took out of your very busy schedule to meet with me today and do an employee spotlight for your work that you're contributing at SSAI. Your work is truly inspiring, and you are really making an impact and a difference globally. And everybody around the world is going to be very fascinated by the continued great work that you're doing. So please definitely keep us all informed in terms of any additional data that come, and we cannot wait to highlight it.
Thank you so much, Jason. I really appreciate this opportunity.